On Tech News Today, more CES madness, Ultra HD gets ultra cheap, plus new technology might someday put a computer into your contact lenses. Coming up next.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
It's Wednesday, January 8th, 2014, and this is Tech News Today. This episode of Tech News Today is brought to you by Gazelle, the fast and simple way to sell your used gadgets. Find out what your used iPhone, iPad, and other Apple products are worth at Gazelle.com. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Mike Elgin.
I'm Sarah Lane.
And I'm Jason Howell.
Tech News Today delivers the top tech news in 30 minutes or less, more or less. Let's get straight to the top news. Dell promised in December to deliver a 28-inch Ultra HD monitor for less than $1,000, and it looks like they're going to over-deliver on that promise when they ship it later this month. The price for Dell's P28150Q was announced today, and it's, get ready, $699. The bigger story here, and at CES generally, is just how fast the price of 4K products are dropping. Dell isn't exactly a discount brand, and if Dell can sell a 28-inch Ultra HD display this month for $699, we can expect the price for 4K on the desktop to drop to a few $100 by the end of the year.
We've seen rumors and leaks for weeks now hinting at an Android phone from Nokia, codenamed Normandy. Today, EvLeaks posted what he claims are pictures of the phone using Nokia's forked version of Android. The screens show an interface with 3 views, which looks a little bit like Windows Phone, a little bit like Nokia's Asha platform as well. Microsoft is currently in the process of acquiring Nokia's mobile device business and licensing Nokia's patents for 10 years. So the existence of the Normandy phone is only a rumor at this point. It may or may not ever ship.
China's Alibaba Group launched a mobile game platform yesterday, and it will compete against rival Tencent. Games will be sold on Alibaba's Taobao mobile shopping site and app, and the company has an interesting revenue sharing deal. 70% for developers, 20% for the company, and 10% for charity. Tencent pays only 10% to game developers. Maybe that's why it's called Tencent. And they keep the rest, so it's a pretty compelling model for developers. China has a whopping 300 million mobile game players.
In more Alibaba news, Alibaba's Taobao, which is a C2C shopping platform, you can think of it a little bit like eBay, has banned the sale of bitcoins and other virtual currencies after a Chinese government crackdown on the cryptocurrency. The ban starts Tuesday, and it also includes the sale of how-to guides and computer hardware and software to help facilitate Bitcoin mining.
Big Brother is watching you, or is it Big Mother? A company called Cell Control, which can enable parents to monitor and control how their teen drivers use their smartphones, now supports the Apple iPhone. Called Drive ID, the company's new iOS support can stop drivers from using some features such as texting and email while allowing others like Siri. The product is a hardware box plus an iOS app which can work together to monitor both the car's motion and also the phone's usage. Administrators, parents, can set policies about what teen drivers can and cannot do with their iPhones. The company calls it personalized backseat driving from the couch.
One laptop per child has unveiled 2 new low-cost tablets focused on children's education. New Jersey-based Vivitar, they made my first camera, makes the hardware, but the big shift is in the tablet's Android-based software, which is focused on helping children research and decide various career choices. What? Yeah. Kids who want to be an astronaut or a scientist or a musician or even a podcaster could be exposed to the math and the science and overall concepts that they would need to learn those skills. The organization also launched an app store for curated educational content. One laptop per child prices the 7-inch XO2 at about $150, the 10-inch XO10 at about $200 when they're released in the spring.
Sony President and CEO Kazuo Hirai announced a huge and hugely expensive short-throw laser projector for casting TV and other content up on a wall to create a 147-inch virtual TV. When the product ships this summer, it could cost as much as $40,000. That's $40K. And the reason, it's Ultra HD or 4K. The device itself sits next to the wall and looks like a low cabinet, but when it's on, it throws up an incredible 2,000 lumen image at 4096 by 2160 resolution.
Apple's time keeps on slipping into the future. See what I did there? The company is having a hard time making its iWatch, according to a new report in The Information, because it hasn't found a screen technology that's both high quality and great battery life. A rumor circulated earlier this week citing manufacturing holdups because of the finished treatments for the watch housing, and The Information seems to be confirming this.
Scientists at the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology have developed electronics so small, flexible, and thin that they could be used on the surface of a contact lens, wrapped around a human hair, or applied as a second skin, according to an article published yesterday in the journal Nature Communications. The circuits are created by printing them on a 1 micrometer thick layer of a substance called parylene. Products using this technology are still years away, but who knows? Maybe the next thing after wearables is the Google contact lens and the eye patch.
There's been a lot of controversy around tech company buses that are shuttling employees who live in San Francisco through the city down south to Silicon Valley. Protesters blame high-tech workers for using San Francisco as a bedroom community and then driving up rents and then creating traffic problems. And I'm a San Francisco renter, and I can say there is some truth to that. It's because the issue in the city has even proposed a fee for the buses and new rules about where they can stop. Well, in typical Google fashion, the company is trying something new. Some employees will be able to commute by boat, a catamaran that ferries Googlers from San Francisco to Bay-adjacent Redwood City.
Well, we're going to hear from the Padre and the GizWiz in just a second. But first, let me tell you about Gazelle. If you haven't used Gazelle, you should know that it's free and easy. It's so easy and quick, almost instantaneous, to find out how much they'll pay you for the junk lying around in your drawer or in an old box or whatever. Gazelle even will buy your broken or damaged phones in some cases. All you do is go to Gazelle.com. That's Gazelle.com. Just follow the simple instructions to find your item, enter in what kind of condition it's in, and Gazelle will throw up a price, and that's the price they will pay you. They'll even, in most cases, give you free shipping. They pay by check, PayPal, or you can even get an extra 5% with an Amazon gift card. Gazelle will even wipe your data for free, so you can just send in the phone and they will erase it so that your security is protected. Gazelle's paid more than $100 million to more than 700,000 customers. Most items qualify for a free box. So the only way to know what your phone or tablet is worth is to go to Gazelle.com, enter it into their website, and they will give you the price, send it in. Those tablets and phones aren't getting any more valuable. With each passing month, they are worth less money. So don't wait to do that. Gazelle.com. And now let's go to the conversation. Twit's own Father Robert Ballecer is surviving the grueling ordeal of CES. What do you have for us today, Padre?
Hey, TNT, this is Father Robert at CES 2014, welcoming you to day one. You may wonder why someone would put a bed in the middle of a tech showroom. It's because this is actually some of the highest tech that you're going to find around. Inspired by NASA, refined by their engineers, and turned into a masterpiece of sleep. Now, what makes it a masterpiece? Well, the iComfort is a combination of a variety of technologies, starting with memory foam. They've combined it with their own gel and added some gel pods to give you that little bit of extra support. They've also done things like given it a graphene sheet to distribute your body temperature so you don't develop hot spots, and given it this really interesting wicking material that pulls moisture away from your body, so even if you're having a night sweat, you don't have to worry about waking up in a puddle of your own juices. Ew.
Hey, you know, I found someone to talk about the car. I found Paul Ilio, and it's kind of funny because the name of the company is Ilio Motors. What a coincidence. Or are you involved with this?
Coincidentally, I am, yes.
Oh, okay. So tell us about this.
So its claim to fame is it gets 84 miles per gallon. We anticipate a 5-star crash rating and sticker price for $6,800. We will start production in the first quarter of 2015. We are accepting reservations right now, though.
And you know, I noticed there's only a door on one side.
It is a one door. So it had 2 doors for about a minute. So I did the initial bill of materials. I went and talked to my industrial design guys, and they're like, Paul, why do you got 2 doors? And I'm like, well, because. I'm like, you're right, it only needs one.
I'm at the Geonaut table, and I'm standing next to Justin Schneller, who's going to tell us a little bit about the 360.
It actually films 360 degrees. That means it films all around it and even above it. So when you use it, it means you'll capture everything around you, and you can actually enjoy your sport and not have to focus on what you're filming. It's 3 8-megapixel sensors, so we've got 24 megapixels of information coming into it. It's a standard file, so with photo it's a JPEG, and with video it's an MP4. It spits out one file, so everything's stitched together on the camera, and then using our software or our app, you can view the file in an immersive mode, which means you can zoom around and scroll, look left and right and above you. So we make it super easy for the user to do everything.
I'm with Daniel, and he's going to show us what this does.
Yeah, so this is the 3Doodler, the world's first 3D printing pen. And what it does is literally allow you to draw objects in thin air. So I'm going to show you right now. You just put the pen into the paper, and plastic feeds into the pen, allowing you to just draw up like that. And when I let go,
oh my
that'll
word.
be solid.
All right, so you know, I had a little practice now. So this is not bad, right? It's the Eiffel Tower. When you lay it down, it's the Brooklyn Bridge.
I'm here at VaporCorp with the president, CEO of the company, Mr. Kevin Friese, who's, well, got a really cool prototype for us to take a look at. Kevin, what is this?
This is our new V-Scan technology. It's a fingerprint scanning lock and unlock mechanism for vapor. And what you do is you put your finger on the unit, and it will lock and unlock the unit, and it's unlocked, and then you can enjoy your vaporizer. What this does, it allows you to lock your children out, for example, if you don't want your child to use it, or even if you don't want your wife to use it, you can lock her out of it as well.
Every once in a while, we run across a story of a company that has, well, soul, and Empowered is definitely one of them. They make this, the Lucy. Now, the story behind the Lucy was that they made it after the disaster in Haiti because they needed something that was sustainable, a lighting source that anyone could use that was cheap enough to distribute and light. And this is it. It's a solar-powered lamp that with 8 hours of direct sunlight can provide light for 12 hours. The way it does that is by using a diffuser element in order to give you colors or a white light in any sort of environment. The cool thing about this is because they're inflatable and because they are so light, you can ship them en masse to areas that need them, developing countries or disaster areas. If you're looking for a lamp with style and a little bit of soul, check out Empowered. It's the end of a long day here at CES 2014. And I have to say, we've seen a lot of tech, but I've also seen one very stealthy trend, and that is the acceptance of the amateur content creator. Companies like Sennheiser and Shure and MXL are making devices to enable the amateur content creator to create easily the stuff that used to take thousands and thousands of dollars worth of gear. Not only that, we're seeing organizations like the CEA build Skype into the organization, into the network, into CES, meaning they understand that the content's going to come from the people who know it best. I'm Father Robert Balacer. Back to you, TNT.
Thank you, Robert. That was an awesome report. And now, Sarah, I think you're going to tell us about Silicon Valley's space program.
Sort of, yeah. I mean, you could almost think of it as like a spy satellite program. At least at some point, that's what some of these companies would be seen as. Great story in The Atlantic about sort of the future of satellite imagery. I think many of us say, ooh, a satellite view of my town. How do I get that? Google Earth. There are other options, but that's the most well-known. And there are varying types of resolution, and depending on where you are, sometimes the view is, it's a little bit more, okay, that's sort of it's kind of a fuzzy view of the world below, but it's still there for most of the world. There are 3 companies that are all doing different things, but all using satellites to basically further what satellite imagery is. One is called EarthCast with a U. One's called Planet Labs, and one is called Skybox. And EarthCast plans to install both a still and a video camera on the International Space Station, then beam video down using the Russian Space Agency's antenna. In fact, they actually have already tried to do this in December. They had some cosmonauts try to put some cameras up there, and they didn't take, so they're going to do it again. But that's, eventually they'll get it right. That's the plan, which is amazing. Planet Labs wants to send 28 really small satellites. They're kind of like, they've been explained as about the size of a garden gnome, so not very big, up into low orbit, which would be the biggest private fleet of satellites that have ever been created to go up at once. the whole thing about Planet Labs is that the satellites aren't necessarily supposed to be that high res, but because there are so many of them, you've got all sorts of options. You could monitor crops over a year's time. So you could, as some sort of economist, think about maybe the corn yield for the next year based on what it looks like in the air. It's really cool. And then Skybox wants to combine historic data from a variety of satellites, including the government satellite, aerial photography, and weather centers to kind of create a history of the Earth in data that, of course, will help people be able to predict the future of the Earth. I don't know really what any of this means on a day-to-day level, but I do know that it's exciting to me that the imagery that we see from space is going to continue to get better, and people are getting more creative with that data. You always hear about astronauts saying, you've never thought about the world in the way that you do, you know, with as much love for humankind as you do when you see it from that view.
Yeah.
At the same time, it's a little frightening because we are talking about something that people could construe as spying.
Like so many technologies these days, the promises are just mind-blowingly great. Like it's just fantastic that we're going to be able to have all the benefits of watching crops and watching things that used to require labor-intensive, sometimes dangerous work by various people on the ground. I understand that even the plan is that one of those cameras on the Earth cam is going to be 4K. I don't know how they're going to beam it down, and once they get it to Earth, how they're going to get it into my living room. You know, and if you hear that, Hollywood, I mean, even NASA is embracing 4K. Come on, let's get with it. But you know, the downside of this, you hear about all the benefits, is that people don't trust any sort of surveillance technology. I mean, you know, cameras looking down at you all the time. I can imagine a world in the future where the satellite view in Google Maps or any competitive product is live, where, you know, when you look at down and look at your house, you can be outside like sort of waving and you'll see it on the laptop. That would be, I think that would be both the most amazing thing in the world, and it would just freak everybody the F out. I mean, do you think people are going to accept this? I mean, and what can they do about it?
I think it's kind of how you want to, what you make of it. To me, that's amazing. Yeah. Look at the higher resolution and the better that the coverage gets of the Earth is something that I'm extremely interested in because, you know, as a traveler, it's just cool. You get to see the Earth as if you were in space. But at the same time, yeah, there are privacy issues. There are issues with companies maybe being able to know too much about the inner workings of other companies.
Sure.
And it's not necessarily a good thing. Too much data is not always a good thing. It's how we use it.
Yeah, and it's going to vary all over the world. There are authoritarian regimes and even democracies that don't want, you know, easy looks into there. And there is a genuine security issue. I mean, let's face it, this is the kind of technology that the Pentagon has, and the fact that they have it and the bad guys often don't is a huge advantage, and that advantage is going to be eroded. And of course, Germany didn't even like Street View. They're going to hate this. Well, there are a lot of other trends going on at CES, and one of them that's just mind-blowing, I'm hearing that there are so many 3D printers at CES that it's almost, the people are sick of it. It's like, enough with the 3D printers already. I can't stand it already. There are just too many of them. And it's really a truly amazing development in the history of technology. It's basically downloadable physical objects, ultimately. But I think, looking at some of the products that are being shown there and elsewhere, I think that the first subgroup of awesome 3D printing technology is going to happen in the kitchen. There are 3 3D printers at CES that are printing food. And some of them are kind of amazing. One of them is from a company called 3D Systems. It's called the Chef Jet. And the cheaper one, so-called, costs $5,000, and the more expensive one costs $10,000. The pricier one can print in multicolors. So mostly it's pastries right now with this particular product. Okay. And so you can imagine a big catering scenario. My son is getting married this year, and you can imagine a catering event where you have pastries, and you could have a 3D printer cranking out decorations on desserts or whatever just at high speed in the future. Right now, these things are pretty slow. Another company called Natural Machines has a product called Foodini, and they make everything from chocolates to ravioli to even pizza. They make burgers. They make all kinds of things. Now, these foods look revolting right now. They just don't look good at all. The pizza and the burgers and all that stuff, just you wouldn't want to eat it.
Space food all over again.
Exactly. But I mean, look at food produced in the kitchen. I'm sure that a lot of the food that was made in kitchens in the Middle Ages was revolting as well. And you develop it into something beautiful and wonderful to eat. And there's another company called Chalk Edge, which specializes in printing chocolate. I'm going to see if I can pre-order that one. But this is an amazing area, and I really believe that this is the area where 3D printing is going to, the first time you encounter, I think the first time most people encounter a 3D printed object is going to be going straight into their mouth.
It's funny how the 3D printer changes not just, oh, you can put a bunch of ingredients together and create food, but create food that looks a certain way. I mean, think about a bread maker, some auto bread maker. I remember when those first came on the market, I don't know, 20 years ago or something. Sure. It's like you put all this stuff in, you press go, and then you get a loaf of bread a couple hours later. It smells good and it tastes fine. Yeah. Maybe there's a little bit lost in the whole, kneading the dough and the rising and the yeast, but not really. For the most part, on day-to-day level, it's better for people.
Yeah, the alternative often isn't a really great loaf of bread. The alternative is often no bread or a really bad loaf of bread from the store that's been sitting around for 2 weeks. So, yeah, there are definitely benefits to this. And, again, the prices are coming way down. So this is going to be awesome. Really, it's very clear that we're headed for the Star Trek food replicator.
I think what's really interesting about this is there are celebrity chefs that base their entire career around doing things like this. Yet a printer now can do food print, print out your food to make it look extravagant as well as potentially taste great. Yeah. What happens to the celebrity chefs?
You know what happens? Exactly. They get to charge more for something that's handmade.
Yeah, exactly. It's artisan, yes.
Would you like a fancy latte or one made with a machine?
Right. You can see my fingerprints in it, so I'm going to charge you $25 for it. So, Sarah, Yahoo yesterday announced a ton of stuff, and one of the more interesting was some of their content.
Yeah, so what caught my eye the most, and this was part of a keynote led by Marissa Mayer and Katie Couric over at CES, but Yahoo officially launched Yahoo Tech, which of course in our industry is always interesting because the more tech verticals, the more that we're talking about technology and the more options that people have to read. Yahoo is positioning itself, not just in the tech sector, but really the entire portal as a place for mainstream news, for everyday people. You don't have to be a geek. You don't have to be too technical. David Pogue, who famously worked for the New York Times for many, many years and was hired by Yahoo to lead Yahoo Tech, had a video up yesterday, and he poked fun at other sites and really kind of, in the industry, there's a lot of sort of squabbling that goes on between writers. You have written for many, many years, so you know how that goes. But in general, the message was, you don't have to be afraid of a lot of this stuff. You don't have to feel like it's over your head. We're Yahoo, and we want you to enjoy tech, and we're going to talk to you like humans. Yeah. Rather than, in press release form or talking about specs that don't necessarily matter to the average person. Now, I don't think that that's good or bad. It's a different approach. I do think that, though, that it's interesting the way that they've put Yahoo Tech together. For example, no display ads, at least right now. None at all. The design almost looks like a tablet. So you're on a page.
It really does.
You look at it's almost like a tile interface.
You want to reach out and like swipe it in order to move around instead of have to use my mouse. Feels kind of weird on this kind of interface.
But if you click on one of those, an area of interest, you go ahead and get an expanded view. You go ahead and read that view. And then all of your tiles to the next story are down at the bottom. So there's really no pagination at all. It really does away with the whole idea of, oh, let's, maybe do some sort of a slideshow and get more page views. It's really, it's quite unusual, actually. Yahoo Food is another vertical as well. Marissa Mayer said on stage yesterday that digital magazines are a core part of their long-term vision. Ads have to show up eventually, I assume. Maybe one of those tiles will be an ad eventually, a little bit more of that native advertising that's become very hot now where it's not really supposed to fool you, but it's supposed to be so seamless that it's there and you're okay with it. I mean, it looks clean, Mike, but I don't know. Yeah, it looks clean, and it's nice to see them putting tech in a category of its own. If you look around at all the general content sites, the newspapers and content sites, nobody knows where to put tech. Is it about your lifestyle? I think USA Today puts it under life. Is it a business issue? A lot of
publications just call it business. It's nice that they give tech its own thing and say, you know, tech is tech. It's not business. It's not lifestyle. It's both. And so just go ahead and go in there and you know, just experience the technology for yourself. I think one of the problems with David Pogue's message, besides being kind of negative, he was actually throwing up headlines from bloggers, real headlines, and kind of dissing them for being too techy. You know, it's something that it's hard to get. You know, the tech enthusiasts want to educate themselves about the market. So we'll see if they do a good job. I think they will. They've got some good people there. They've got a few other hires that have been made that I think are very good. So that is our conversation. Let's get to see what we have in other news. All right, well, the iRing is coming, but it's not coming from Apple. A company called IK Multimedia is showing at CES an iRing controller for playing electronic music with an iPhone or iPad. It uses the iPhone camera to detect movement along 6 directions, can send MIDI messages to a host computer over Wi-Fi. Let's face it, this is a post-PC theremin, but it's kind of an interesting idea to use a combination of a special controller with the camera to control things with gestures. I mean, the iPhone and iPad are obviously not designed for in-the-air gestures. So it's interesting technology. I really don't think this is going to take over the world, but I like the idea of moving in-the-air gestures like the Xbox Kinect to devices that don't really support it. And that's really what you have to do in many cases with Apple. We talked earlier about that watch your teenage driver kind of thing. That company had to jump through hoops to support something that Apple doesn't allow, which is to have one app control another. In this case, the iDevices don't support in-the-air gestures, but they found a way to make it work. So that's pretty cool if you ask me. So Google Plus has an interesting new option for people. They don't have it, but it exists for people that are doing Hangouts. What's going on there?
Speaking of gestures, might want to turn that frown upside down. A new app for Google Hangouts called Us Plus, kind of reads like US Plus, but it's Us, combines linguistic and then facial expression analysis to monitor your video chats in real time. Well, why would you want that? The point is to see if you're being hostile or maybe you're being very positive, how honest you appear to the other person or people that you're talking to. Us Plus will give you suggestions for better communication, like, you've been talking too much, you know? Or maybe you seem sad and kind of like, punch it up, that's your boss, that kind of thing. The app designers say that it's more about creating algorithms that we can match based on what humans are already pretty good at perceiving. It's not about forcing a certain kind of communication. I'd like to see it work, but I don't know if maybe I do need to know when I've been talking too long.
Yeah.
I think if I'm sad, I probably know.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to see it reversed. I'd like to have it tell me what the other person is doing. Hey, you're lying to me, according to this Google Plus plugin.
Right.
So that would be cool. It also might be good for people who have difficulty reading signals from other people. I don't know. It's interesting technology, and they're starting to apply it. Well, that's it for today. I want to ask all of you to share your tips, leaks, inside information, and feedback in our new Google Plus community. Go to G Plus and search for Tech News Today, and you'll find it there. Send us an email at TNT@twit.tv, or leave a message by calling 260-TNT-SHOW. Also, upvote the stories you'd like to see us cover on our subreddit at technewstoday.reddit.com, and visit the Tech News Today website at twit.tv/TNT. And if you watch live, please join the chat room. They won't bite sometimes, and it's really a lot of fun. We watch the chat room throughout the entire show, so you can actually influence us with your comments in the chat room. We'll be joined tomorrow by tech podcaster Paul Spain, who will be Skyping in from CES. Plus, we'll have another Padre report, also from CES. Thanks for joining us.